Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakaacharya Ashtotara Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakaacharya Ashtotara Sata Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anant Koti Vaishnav Vrind Ki Jai. Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrind Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Brajabhumi Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Purushottam Kshetra Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Kalachanji Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrind Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Anyone? Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavala Giri Varadhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavala Bhagiri Varadari. Thank you. Yashodanandana Raja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Raja Janaranjana Yamunatiravanachari 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 Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janavallabha Giri Varadari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Giri Varadari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe Jaya Radha Kalachandji Radha Kalachandji Shri Radhe Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jai Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you. Welcome everyone to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. I see some new faces here. What are your names, Prabhus? Sambhaji. Mohan? Vamshi Krishna Jai. Okay. Okay. Yeah, Marge will be speaking tomorrow. He wasn't able to speak today, so we'll kind of do more of a reading today, than so much of a class. But yeah, thank you for coming. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We'll read this together. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, we can all recite together. One should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashtaprayeshu vajreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavat yutama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. All right, dear devotees, we are on the Krishna House break right now, so all the classes are speaker's choice. So I thought an ever relevant topic is the glories of the holy name. So we'll get right into the story. We're in Canto 6, Chapter 2, text number 8, if anyone wants to pull it up. That is 628. Etanaiva hyaгаnosya kritam syat aganishkritam yada narayana yeti jagadan chaturaksharam. Please recite. Etanaiva hyaognosya kritam syat aghanishkritam yada narayana eti jagada chakshuraksharam. Etanaiva hyagonosya Shritam Narayana iti Jagad Chaturaksharam. Etanaiva hyagonosya One more. Etanaiva hyagonosya Hamsyad aganishkritam Yada narayana yeti Jagada chakshuraksharam. You can recite the synonyms all together. Etena, by this chanting, Eva, indeed, he, certainly, Aghona, who possesses sinful reactions, Asya, of this, Ajamila, Kritam, performed, Syat, is, Agha, of sins, Nishkritam, complete atonement, Yada, when, Narayana, O Narayan, the name of his son, Aya, please come, iti, thus, Jagada, he chanted, Chatu Aksharam, the 4 syllables, Narayana. Translation. The Vishnu Dutas continued. Even previously, while eating, and at other times, this Ajamila would call his son, saying, My dear Narayan, please come here. Although calling the name of his son, he nevertheless uttered the 4 syllables, Narayan. Simply by chanting the name of Narayan in this way, He sufficiently atoned for the reactions of millions of lives. All right, so we can read the purport by Srila Prabhupada. So I have the microphone.
Previously, when engaged in sinful activities to maintain his family, Ajamila chanted the name of Narayana without offenses. To chant the holy name of the Lord just to counteract one's sinful activities or to commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name is offensive. Namno balad yashya hi papa buddhiya. But although Ajamila engaged in sinful activities, he never chanted the holy name of Narayana to counteract them. He simply chanted the name Narayana to call his son. Therefore, his chanting was effective. Because of chanting the holy name of Narayana, in this way he had already vanquished the accumulated sinful reactions of many, many lives. In the beginning, he was pure, but although he later committed many sinful acts, he was offenseless because he did not chant the holy name of Narayana to counteract them. One who always chants the holy name of the Lord without offenses is always pure. As confirmed in this verse, Ajamila was already sinless, and because he chanted the name of Narayana, he remained sinless. It did not matter that he was calling his son. The name itself was effective.
All right. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Gyana Tirinandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurin Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, I'm sure everyone here has heard of the story before, right? Of Ajamil. This Brahmana, young man, married man, he goes out by the order of his father one day to pick grasses and leaves and flowers from the forest. And while he's out there, he sees a low-class man and woman embracing in the forest. And she glanced at him, and that, it's amazing. He was like a pure Brahmana, you could say, living a very pure life. But his consciousness was so affected by that sight and by her glance at him that it disturbed him for days and days. And he tried to fight it with scriptural knowledge, and he tried different things, but he eventually sought her out and tried to find her. And then he rejected his young, chaste, and religious wife, and kicked her out of the house, and then took this prostitute in to be his new wife. And he had 10 children. The way he maintained himself was through stealing and killing, and his own parents, he rejected them and just left them to survive on their own. So this is the story of Ajamil, but the thing that redeemed him was because of his past pure activities as a Brahmana, he got the intelligence to name his son Narayan. I believe I was hearing that a Brahmana visited his house and told him to name his son Narayan, and that was actually Krishna's mercy to almost trick him into chanting the name. We're going to read one more text, and this text is very interesting. I'll just go to the translation. The chanting of the holy name of the Lord, of Lord Vishnu, is the best process of atonement for a thief of gold or other valuables, for a drunkard, for one who betrays a friend or relative, for one who kills a brahmana, or for one who indulges in sex with the wife of his guru or another superior. It is also the best method of atonement for one who murders women, the king or his father, for one who slaughters cows, and for all other sinful men. Simply by chanting the holy name of Lord Vishnu, such sinful persons may attract the attention of the Supreme Lord, who therefore considers, because this man has chanted my holy name, my duty is to give him protection. So this verse actually has no purport, but it's a very profound verse. If you look at these things, it's very dark stuff that it's talking about: betraying your friend and killing a brahmana and these other terrible things. So, in the previous verse, Srila Prabhupada was talking about one of the offenses to the holy name is to chant the name of the Lord with the idea that it'll clear your, that you want to continue sinning, but you believe that the name will not give you any reaction for the sins that you commit. We understand that, as we've seen in these past few verses, that even uttering the holy name once, it counteracts, I believe it said, millions of lifetimes of sinful activities. And Ajamil, although he was extremely sinful, whenever he would chant the name of his son, he didn't have the intention of counteracting his sinful activities. Does anyone have any thoughts on that? Why Krishna doesn't like it when we chant just to remove our sins, or chant just so that we can continue sinning? Anyone? Kaylee?
Hare Krishna. I have a thought on this, but then I also have a question because I have to go to school, so I hope I can ask it.
Okay, yeah.
But I was thinking that the Lord doesn't like when we do it because it's like a business. It's not showing real love. So though Ajamil was sinning, he still didn't see like, oh, I can take advantage of my Lord and say his names and get purified from this. He was, I don't know his mentality, but I don't think he was looking at it as a business transaction. Like he didn't want to use the Lord in that way. My question, it talks about, like this is saying that whoever chants my name, I give them protection. Like what kind of protection does that mean? Someone who has done these activities, they don't feel the reactions, the consequences to them, or they're not, like what does it just mean they start fresh if they chant the holy name, if they've done this? Like what does that protection look like? What does that mean?
That's a great question. Just to your first point, yeah, it's showing that, or I guess we could, I'm sure Prabhupada Pri has a really good answer for that second question. Okay. All right, well then we'll just talk about the first point. Yeah, Krishna, he there's this concept of the more we know, the greater there is of committing offenses. The closer we get to Krishna, and the more that we know, the more offenses that there are to be made. It's kind of like on the altar, you know? You're so close, but there's so many offenses that you can make in deity worship. So similarly, the more we know about chanting, the more we know about the scriptures, kind of the bar is higher. Ajamil, he was chanting, you could say ignorantly. He wasn't even chanting the Lord's name like consciously. That wasn't his intention. He was just calling for his son. So we see that when we learn more, we're kind of expected to, when we're taken out of ignorance, we're expected to act in a higher way. And then on this topic of how does Krishna give protection, I've heard many answers to this. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he says that those who are rightly situated, they quickly become righteous. So basically, yes, you've done these terrible things, and yes, there is something there, something lingering, but if you stay in God consciousness, or if you keep chanting, you will quickly become righteous. That's in the 9th chapter. And then Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita that there's no loss or diminution. So in material life, there's always, you can lose everything in a second. But for spiritual life, even if you chant it only once, Krishna remembers that and he protects you from losing that. There's also a more clear description exactly of how sins get purified. I believe in the Nectar of Devotion with the 4 kinds of sins, and sure Prabhupada Priya can share some thoughts on this point of how does Krishna protect us from these sinful reactions. Microphone.
Hare Krishna. It, my understanding is that the protection is that it's not necessarily that we're not going to get a reaction, but one thing is that he protects our Krishna consciousness, and he also protects us by rectifying our mentality, the mentality that led us to commit the sinful activity. So it's not that we're going to get off scot-free if we do something horrendous. We're still going to get some consequences because obviously we need to be corrected. But that'll happen in a way that's not like destructive of our bhakti, but that's instructive rather than destructive.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is that when we commit some activity that's symptomatic of ignorance, then it tends to, passion or ignorance, then it invites those lower modes to come and basically have more influence on us, even more of an influence on us. If you do something ignorant, then ignorance comes and gets you. If you do something passionate, passion comes to get you. If you do something goodness comes to support you. And if we do something transcendental, then Krishna helps us all the way. So what he protects us from also is getting slammed by the lower modes after doing it. Rather, he'll personally give us a little slap on the hand, but in a way that corrects us, but at the same time uplifts us, gives us the determination to stop doing the wrong things and keep going enthusiastically on the path of bhakti.
Jai. Kaylee? Oh. Has anyone ever experienced that before, where, we kind of do something wrong, or we act out of ego, maybe we yell at someone, or, we do something of the lower modes, but we feel that when we turn to Krishna, he protects us from going more down. I know I've definitely experienced that, many times. Like sometimes I'm just like really lethargic and just like can't get out of bed, and just maybe I'm like looking at, I don't know, a YouTube video or something, but just remembering Krishna, or maybe it's I remember I have a round or two left or something like that. It's able to kind of get me out of those modes usually. Yeah. So we can continue reading the next verse. And if anyone has any thoughts on these previous verses, please share, and we can discuss more. Okay. Next verse. By following the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies or undergoing atonement, sinful men do not become as purified as by chanting once the holy name of Lord Hari. Although ritualistic atonement may free one from sinful reactions, it does not awaken devotional service, unlike the chanting of the Lord's names, which reminds one of the Lord's fame, qualities, attributes, pastimes, and paraphernalia. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that the chanting of the holy name of the Lord has special significance that distinguishes it from the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies of atonement for severe, more severe, and most severe sinful actions. There are 20 types of religious scriptures called Dharma Shastras, beginning with the Manu Samhita and Parashara Samhita. But herein it is stressed that although one may become free from the reactions of the most sinful activities by following the religious principles of these scriptures, this cannot promote a sinful man to the stage of loving service to the Lord. On the other hand, chanting the holy name of the Lord even once not only frees one immediately from the reactions of the greatest sins, but also raises one to the platform of rendering loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is described as Uttama Shloka, because he is famous for his glorious activities. Thus one serves the Lord by remembering his form, his attributes, and pastimes. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that this is all possible simply by chanting the Lord's holy name. Because of the Lord's omnipotence, What cannot be achieved through the performance of Vedic rituals can be easily achieved through the chanting of the Lord's holy name. To chant the holy name of the Lord and dance in ecstasy is so easy and sublime that one can achieve all the benefits of spiritual life simply by following this process. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu declares, Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. This Sankirtan movement we have started offers the best process for becoming purified of all sinful reactions and coming immediately to the platform of spiritual life. All right. Any thoughts on this verse? What's the significance of what we're hearing right now? Yeah, we don't have to do anything except for chanting. This is, of course, this is always very relevant for us. We feel that, we mess up sometimes. In our devotional life, sometimes we expect it to just be a straight line going all the way back to Krishna's feet. But often it's very, it's not so simple. It's not so straightforward. And so we need this reassurance that when we mess up, when we, something happens, that all we have to do is just get back on track. That's what Krishna wants to see. We saw in the previous verse that, someone has, murdered people, someone has betrayed their friends, someone has done this, done that. And Krishna, he doesn't hold that against them. All he cares about is, okay, this happened, but have you turned back to the path? Have you realigned yourself? Have you come back? We see, many devotees, their stories, some devotees, they go away for decades even. But when they come back, Krishna, he doesn't hold that against them. They pick up where they left off and they're able to get back on it. And often they come back with a new dedication, a new sincerity, and a new appreciation for the path that they were on. So, and we see this from, like Prabhupada was saying in the purport, severe sins, more severe sins, and most severe sins. What is the kind of the original sin that we can think of? What's the most common, most basic sin that we can conceive of? Murder, you said? What? Murder, okay. Huh? Breaking the regular principles. Prabhupada kind of hit the nail on the head. Forgetting Krishna. That's the original thing that we did, which was got us in this whole mess. That's the kind of, the Christians say the original sin. That's kind of our original mess up, is that we forgot Krishna. So we're seeing that this is the process of atonement. Often we chant japa. Does anyone here forget Krishna sometimes when they chant? Yeah, so we're always forgetting Krishna when we should be remembering Krishna. And so Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, we need knowledge and detachment. So we acknowledge, I've forgotten Krishna right now. But we need detachment too, that, okay, I forgot him, but this next bead, I can remember Krishna. There's always that next bead, that next moment. Even if in our own, we're doing our day-to-day activities, and we notice that we've forgotten Krishna, there's nothing that stops us from remembering Krishna again. The best process of atonement for forgetting Krishna is to remember Krishna. And Krishna, he appreciates that so much. Srila Prabhupada said, if you have time, what do you do if you have time? If you have time, chant Hare Krishna. So, we can, I remember I was in Baltimore a few months ago, and this devotee gave a nice class about how you're not the body. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to set an alarm on my phone that every hour or every 30 minutes or something, it buzzes and it's like, you're not the body. I got really sick of it after a while, but we can think in the same way that we check with ourselves. is this a situation where I can remember Krishna right now? And it's always going to be yes. So we can see, am I remembering Krishna? Oh, I'm not? Okay, let me remember Krishna somehow. We either, while we're doing the dishes, we can chant. While we're mowing the lawn, we can chant. While we're, at work, even if we can't do it out loud. That's the amazing thing about kirtan, is that kirtan, kind of like how songs stick in your head, like an earworm, they call it, right? Kirtan has the same effect, that this one tune can just be in your head all day, just like going on repeat. And that's Krishna consciousness, is that we're always chanting, we're always hearing. Sometimes, I know for my mom, she has this one tune that she's always singing. It's always the same tune. It's like, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. The one that Chakri Prabhu sings. And then it's also kind of infectious. I'm like, I walk out of the house and it's also going in my head. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So, yeah, that's how devotee association affects us, is that we find that we're not remembering Krishna, and they bring Krishna up, and we remember Krishna again. Yeah. Let me see. Yeah. So we see often that people have different types of atonement in this world. I'm remembering again when I was in Baltimore, this new devotee, he was saying, how do I do a cleanse of negative energy? Like, I'm really looking for a cleanse of negative energy or something. And we were like, oh, you should just, you should chant. And he's like, no, I'm looking for something specifically to cleanse negative energy. So people are looking for this kind of thing. People, they can recognize when they've done wrong, and that's often when they decide to turn to God. But this is the main process of atonement. Other things, they don't deal with the inner desires to commit these activities. Prabhupada describes the 4 types of learners. Do you guys know the 4 types of learners? Or is it 3? I think it's 4. Don't be shy. What's the first class learner? Anyone, just call it out. One who hears and understands. Okay, so yeah, there was this example, you hear in the news that, oh, this person robbed the bank and he got arrested. So, okay, I guess I shouldn't do that. That's apparently what happens. And so if you're able to learn like that, it's very good. You avoid a lot of trouble. And then what's the second class intelligence? Anyone? Yeah, I think maybe I got confused. I always learned that there is the person who has to see it. You have to see it to believe it. You have to see your friend your friend started getting involved with gangs or something, and you see them get in trouble. You see them go to jail or something like that. And so then you're like, okay, I had to see it. Now I saw it, I'm not going to do it. And then what you guys mentioned, they have to experience it to learn. And that's most of us. Hopefully, for most things, we don't have to experience it, but often that's what the material world does, is that we have to experience suffering before we can learn to turn to Krishna. And then what is the lowest class of intelligence or of learner? Yeah, someone who they experience it and then they go right back into it. As soon as they get out, they go right back into it. So, yeah, we should be the first class learner, and we should hear of what happens when we forget Krishna. Hear of the dangers of material life. Hear about what happens if we leave devotee association. We should just learn from it and accept it. We will see examples. I've seen many examples of people who leave devotee association, leave Krishna consciousness, and the material energy just, has a free-for-all on that individual. It's very sad to see, but yeah, ideally we can learn just from hearing that. We don't, often people born in devotee families, it's unfortunate, but often they have to kind of dip their toes in the water a little bit before they learn that this place isn't meant for enjoyment. They have to, go out there and try, and then eventually, Srila Prabhupada said they will all come back. So, just like Ajamil, he came back in the end. Krishna protected him. And then I guess just in that last point about people, devotees born in the movement, you may name your son Narayan, but often these devotee children, their names are Narayan, or like Madhava, Gopal, Krishna, Radha, and these different names. And so, it's able to keep them still chanting. And it actually benefits everyone around them when they say like, "Oh, hey, Madhava, like let's go to the movies," or something like that. It's just like a Jamil. This chanting, it'll eventually purify the parents. It'll purify their classmates. It'll purify themselves. So yeah, that's some thoughts I have. It's 8:18. We have maybe 12 minutes for further discussion, further questions or points or things that we learn from a Jamil. What about you, Dustin? Okay, I'll come back to you, Dustin. What about Mohan, Vamshi Krishna, and Sambhaji? Okay. What do you guys think about this story of Ajamil? Is it relatable? Yeah. Okay, we can continue reading if no one has anything right now. That's the beauty of a free-form speaker's choice class. So we can just read. Maybe this next verse will churn some nectar. Does anyone want to read this verse?
The ritualistic ceremonies of atonement recommended in the religious scriptures are insufficient to clean the heart absolutely, because after atonement one's mind again runs toward material activities. Consequently, for one who wants liberation from the fruitive reactions of material activities, the chanting of the Maha Mantra, or glorification of the name, fame, and pastimes of the Lord, is recommended as the most perfect process of atonement, because such chanting eradicates the dirt from one's heart completely.
In the purport? You want to read the purport?
Yeah. The statements in this verse have been confirmed previously in Srimad Bhagavatam.
Shrinvatam Svakata Krishna
Punya
Punya
Shavana Kirtana
Vedyantaso
Vedaniutaso
Yabarani
Vidyanoti
Vidunoti
Susatam.
Susatam.
Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramamsa Supersoul in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for the material enjoyment from the heart of a devotee who relishes his messages, which are themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. It is a special mercy of the Supreme Lord that as soon as he knows that one is glorifying his name, fame, and attributes, he personally helps cleanse the dirt from one's heart. Therefore, simply by such glorification, one not only becomes purified, but also achieves the results of pious activities. Punya Shravan Kirtana. Punya Shravan Kirtana refers to the process of devotional service. Even if one does not understand the meaning of the Lord's name, pastimes, or attributes, one is purified simply by hearing and chanting of them. Such purification is called Sattva Bhavana. One's main purpose in human life should be to purify his existence and achieve liberation. As long as one has a material body, one is understood to be impure. In such an impure material condition, one cannot enjoy a truly blissful life. Although everyone seeks it, therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam says, Tapo divyam putraka yini sattvam suryat. One must perform tapasya, austerity, to purify his existence in order to come to the spiritual platform. The tapasya of chanting and glorifying the name, fame, and attributes of the Lord is a very easy purifying process by which everyone can be happy. Therefore, everyone who desires the ultimate cleansing of his heart must adopt this process. Other processes, such as karma, jnana, and yoga, cannot cleanse the heart absolutely.
All right. So let's see. Yeah, so we have this issue where we have some material desire and it comes up and we put it down and we put it away and we say, I don't want to see it. I don't want to deal with you. And then, it comes back like 30 minutes later, an hour later, a few hours later. And it's, the mind again runs toward material activities. So this is our kind of our dilemma, is that we're trying to be Krishna conscious. And actually we are, we're in the temple where Krishna, we know about Krishna, and when we chant, we're in Krishna consciousness, we're chanting. It's just, I remember one time Jayadvaita Swami was saying that there's 22 other hours in the day where we're not chanting our japa. And so what do we do with that? So we have to make those Krishna conscious somehow. We have to try to remember Krishna. I was also hearing from Satchidananda Maharaj. He was saying that you can tell your level of advancement by looking within your heart and seeing how much material desire is there, or how much lust is there. It's kind of like a spiritual barometer. So it's kind of both. We can see how much do I think of Krishna and how much do I think of material desires, because they don't go together, Satchidananda Maharaj also makes the example of a very cluttered room. And so you want to invite a guest to come sit in your room. You want to invite a guest to sit in your heart, but there's so much furniture everywhere, and there's so many, so much trash and this and that. And so Krishna has nowhere to sit if we have these material desires. So the best way to get rid of these is to chant and to use whatever we can in Krishna's service. There's only 4 things we absolutely can't dovetail in Krishna's service, which is, what are the 4 things? Envy? Okay, yeah. I guess I meant more literal things, more activities. 4 things we can't use in Krishna's service. I think we all know them. Intoxication, gambling, illicit sex, and meat eating. But aside from that, pretty much everything else is on the table to be used in Krishna's service. We see very diverse range of ways that people serve Krishna, either directly or also indirectly. So we have 4 minutes left. We can have just any points that we appreciated from Srila Prabhupada's purports, and we'll get to Dustin whenever Dustin's ready. Are you ready, Dustin? Okay, Jai.
So I wondered, what do we do in the situation where we're at the point of death and we're within the unfortunate circumstance where it would be very difficult to think of God?
Mm-hmm.
Like, say, if somebody's in a car crash or something that can happen within a second.
In a coma. Or
Yeah,
something
exactly,
like that.
exactly. That's where I'm going.
Yeah. Or I know some leave in their sleep too.
Yes.
Yeah, what do you guys think? This is something that's been brought up in our scriptures before. I'm sure you guys know the answer. Manjari Gopika.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. I just read in the 11th canto the other day. I think it was in chapter 6, in the purport of one of the verses. It talks about this, and it specifically says that Krishna, if you've been serving Krishna during your lifetime, but at the moment of death, like an accident happens, or something like that, where your mind is not fixed on him, he will remember you because of the service you did during your life. So Krishna is very merciful, and it's like that verse in Bhagavad Gita where he says, "I will preserve what you have and carry what you lack."
Yeah. Also, Dustin, you were just reading Ishopanishad with us at the Bhakti Shastri class. Do you remember a verse which Ishopanishad is speaking about this topic?
I do not.
It's where he says, please remember everything I've done when the effulgence is gone. So the devotee asks, I may not remember you at all times. You please remember me. Remember, and we know Krishna, one of his qualities is he's grateful. So Krishna, he doesn't forget what we do for him. Yeah, anything else, Dustin?
Jai. Thank you.
Jai, okay. Gokulananda Prabhu.
Lord Chaitanya says, for some reason, let's say somebody, for example, nowadays we see a lot, right? Somebody goes in coma. So a devotee may not be able to, so to say, externally remember Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya's promises, I will force myself into the mind of my devotee. I will enter.
Okay, Jai. So again, on your point, Dustin, expect Lord Chaitanya to force himself into your mind at the time of death when we serve him. I was also reading in the 6th canto, I think it's just the next chapter from this, that Yamaraj is talking about one who falls accidentally, or it's kind of like different odd ways that someone dies. And he says that the chanting is, it'll protect them. I don't know, somehow. I need to reread that section. All right, it's 8:30. Any final thoughts, comments that you guys have?
Nice class.
What? Thank you.
I just remembered in one of the Bhagavatam classes, one senior devotee asked this question. So what do you think if I say that one holy name is equal to chanting or doing, millions of other pious activities? Is that a correct statement? And many of them, they said, yeah, we agree. I said, no, it's a wrong statement. They said, nothing can compare to one holy name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Chai. I think with that we can end with a clip of Srila Prabhupada where he says, 1 moment, or 1 minute. And maybe you guys know this video. Okay, I'm going to see if I can get the... see. Thank you for all your tolerance. Okay, it's coming out of the TV. I'll move the mic.
activities. We have been here for many lifetimes performing sinful activities. We have been here for many lifetimes. We have been here for many lifetimes performing sinful activities. So is it possible to counteract all those sinful activities in one lifetime, or does it require many?
1 minute. That is Krishna consciousness movement. 1 minute. You are not reading Bhagavad Gita? What Krishna says? Sarva dharman parityajya mamekang saranam braja aham ta sarva papebhyo mokshayami. You surrender unto me, give up your all business. I'll give you relief from all sinful reaction immediately. It requires 1 minute. My dear Krishna, I was forgotten, now I understand, I fully surrender unto you. And you become immediately free from all sin. Without any reservation, without any politics. If you fully surrender, Krishna is assuring, aham tva sarva papi, homokkhaisami, masucho. He reassures. Don't worry whether I will be able to give you relief from all reactions. Masucho. It is guaranteed. You do this. So, how much time it requires to surrender to Krishna? Immediately you can do that. Surrender means you surrender and what? As Krishna says. That is surrender. What Krishna says to do. Manmana bhavavat bhakta madhyajimag namaskuru. 4 things. You always think of me, and you become my devotee, you worship me, and offer your respect, full obeisances, and you do these 4 things. That is full surrender. Mami vaishyasi, asangsa. Then you come to me without any doubt. Everything is there. Krishna has given everything fully. If you accept it, then life is very simple. There is no difficulty.
Granta Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Premanande.
Jai.